ومولانا أبا القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. تقبل Allah, inshallah. May Allah accept from you. It is the last of the series that we'll be having tonight of this month is about tafsir of Surah al-Anbiya, a surah chapter of the prophets of God. In it is the challenges we covered that the prophets faced. And it is a very important reminder for us that at the end, last night, we talked about the fact that those that are able to change themselves, those whose heart are open, they will change and they will get the reminder of Allah and they will be able to be affected by the prophets. If a person is not capable and his heart is closed and sealed, then even if an infallible person, even if Imam Mahdi right now comes to them, they will not change because they're not capable of changing. I remember once, maybe the only time I visited Ayatollah Sistani, and I asked him for advice, as usually our teachers always ask us when you see the greats, ask them for advice. And I asked him for advice, and he said that you should prepare yourself for advice. The preparations for advice is more important than the advice itself, meaning that a person should make his heart so soft that when someone gives him advice, it will shake him and change him. Sometimes you see the heart of the youth are like that. You talk to them a little bit, they change. So that was the advice that Ayatollah Sistani gave. And that is the advice I give to myself and to you, is that we have to, in Shahr Ramadan, make ourselves in a way that we are changeable and that we are ready to get advice. We're ready to listen. Some people, they don't want to listen. They want to keep continuing their path. And even when you tell them, for example, this is haram, this is not allowed, they object. It doesn't make sense. They want to keep doing what they want to. But how Imam Ali alayhi salam beautifully mentions that al-Islam huwa taslim. Islam is submission. And we always are trying to, in this holy month, in our lifetime, make ourselves in a way that we are submitting to the will of God. That not that, religion has to go around us, that we have to change ourselves for religion. And if there's in practice that I am doing that is haram, not allowed, immediately I should stop it. How many more nights do we have of Shahr Ramadan? Say like 17, something like that? 17 more nights of Shahr Ramadan. What's going to happen when it ends? And for now, the believer should be sad and saying, what am I going to do when Shahr Ramadan ends? What am I going to do? I have these haram things in my life, these bad habits. I want to change them. And if I don't change it now, I'm fasting, I'm separated from water and food. But if I don't change myself now, when am I going to change myself? How do I know if there will ever be a Shahr Ramadan again? Our teacher, Sheikh Ahmad Mujtahidi, would keep saying, what would we do if right now death comes to us in this state? Right now, it ends. Our journey in this world ends. Our tests, our tribulations end. What would we do? Would we go to Allah empty-handed? So we're always looking to make ourselves better in the future. And we're saying it's easier to make myself, okay, not now, I'll do this next year, I'll do this later. I procrastinate. But the time to make ourselves better is now. Because after Shahr Ramadan, it will be hard. And if you're not going to change your Shahr Ramadan, when are you going to change? Another sad idea and concept about after that Shahr Ramadan would end is that many of us have different du'as and prayers to be answered. And if you want this month to end, well, that opportunity to get your du'as answered is over. And maybe your du'as your prayers have not been answered yet. So are you waiting for Shahr Ramadan to end so you can ask them in the month of Shawwal? This is the month of the banquet of Allah. So therefore, we really, to make it easier for fasting, to make the worship easier, you have to learn to appreciate Shahr Ramadan, to love Shahr Ramadan. And this is how the awliya were. And this is how Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salam in Dua 45, where he says, farewell to Shahr Ramadan. That this is something sad. And if you wish that it ends and you're tired already after 13 days of fasting and worship, our teacher, Sheikh Ahmad Moshe, would say, you, as students, he said, you're sick. No offense. So you're sick. Someone that wants the Shahr Ramadan to end is sick, he says. Because you're at the banquet of God. You're worshiping Him. He's treating you with His mercy. You want that to end? Even if you might be tired, I know you go to work, I know you have a different schedule, but if to make things easier, love them and like them. Then when you love Shahr Ramadan, I know it's hard, fasting, but you ever go, for example, to in a hike that was hard, but when you reach the end, you're very happy about what you accomplished? So at the same time, appreciate this time. Time will go very fast. The night of Qadr will happen, and then everyone's going to be tired again, and soon they'll find the moon, maybe, soon, inshallah, and then the month will end for us. And then all of the du'as that we want to be answered, all of this diyafat and banquet of God will be finished. In this holy month, one of the best things to do is recite the Holy Quran, because it is the speech of God. It is there's nothing more authentic than the Holy Quran. So it's qat'iyya sudur. You know that it is from God. You know that even if some of the narrations we have are sahih, I'm not talking about mutawatir, sahih narrations, it still can be right or wrong. It's authoritative. We have to follow it. But Quran, for 100%, it's the speech of God. So this month is the month that God Himself, unzala fihi al-Quran, introduces Shahr Ramadan is the month that the Quran has been descended upon us. So this is the month for us to know what God says from us. If you want to know how somebody is like, you listen to their speech. If I'm quiet the whole time, I'm the quietest person in the masjid. There are some here, they're very quiet. You don't know much about them. But those that are very talkative, those that talk a lot, usually you know more about their lives. If you want to know how your Lord is like, how Allah is like, you read His speech. So therefore, in Surah al-Anbiya, in the surahs of Quran, there's so much to learn. And primarily you're learning about what God is, how God is, and what He wants from us. We're going to read only 2 verses tonight with your permission. 2 verses, one verse 46 and the other verse 47. So alhamdulillah, from the beginning, we did about 40, we'll do about 47 verses of Surah al-Anbiya. I will continue this at a different center, and hopefully we can finish the surah this Shahr Ramadan. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولئن مستهم نفحة من عذاب ربك. And if as much as a whiff, nafha is a whiff, something small is a nafha. Sometimes it's translated as a breeze as well. A little breeze or a little bit, a whiff of the punishment of your Lord. Quran doesn't say the entire punishment. It says a little tiny bit of God's punishment, a tiny bit. لَيَقُولُنَّ Ya waylana inna kunna zalimin. If a little whiff of the punishment of the hereafter comes, punishment of God comes, you would say, oh woe to us, indeed we have been wrongdoers. So therefore we understand from this that the punishment of Allah and the fear of God that we should have should be shadid, should be a lot. And we said time and time again that the Prophet and his family, they feared the hellfire. They feared God's punishment, because fearing is something good. We read that Lady Khadija, the wife of the Holy Prophet, after giving all this capital and resources in the way of Allah, in some of the books it mentions that she was afraid of the grave. And she asked Rasulullah to give me and bury me with the abba, with the cloak that you were wearing when Jibreel came and gave you the first verses of Quran. So someone like Lady Khadija is worried about the hereafter. Someone like Imam Ali alayhi salam is worried about the hereafter, to free himself. We should be, in this month, the most important thing that you're asking for yourself is freedom from the hellfire. That you will go into heaven. Can you get it in Shahr Ramadan? Yes, you can. What will you be making dua in the nights of destiny, the nights of God? You'll be making this dua. خلصنا الغوث 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 خلصنا من النار يا رب. You'll be saying soon, for Allah is asking for God's assistance and for Allah to save us from the hellfire. And this is a very important concept that should be in the back of our minds. To never think that the punishment of God is for others but cannot be for me. Nobody here knows if they'll go into heaven or hell. There's no guarantee. And we are not supposed to know. We are not supposed to know, because if you know what's going to happen, then you'll say, for example, right now I say you're going to heaven. And I give you a pass from the Masjed, and the Masjid stamps it, for example, and they say this is a go to heaven free card. How would you act differently tomorrow? You would be like, okay, maybe Salat al-Fajr I'll do it, maybe I won't, I don't know. I'm going to heaven anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? You'll be easy, you take it easy. And God forbid, if somebody told you you're going to hell no matter what, how would you react? You say, forget it, I'm not going to pray anymore. I'm going to hell anyways. I'd give up. So you're not supposed to know if you go to heaven or hell. Because if you know, then you're not going to try as hard and as much. If you're going to heaven, you say, okay, I'm going, so I'm not fearing God anymore. And if I know I'm going to hell, I will lose my hope and raja of Allah. So therefore, we see that these verses should be taken, they're meant for us, so that we can become careful and know that a little whiff of God's punishment is enough for the wrongdoers to say, woe upon us. When you look at the details of heaven and hell, one, we understand that it is a physical resurrection, that the body will be again created, the body will be reborn. Things will be much different. We can't say exactly how hell will be like, how heaven will be like. We don't know. But we have some instructions from the Quran that tell us, basically, we understand that it will be a physical type, a bodily resurrection, not spiritual. Some have said spiritual, but those are things that we reject. So it's not just spiritual. It will be spiritual and physical. That the body, when you look at it, and we'll read some of the descriptions about the hellfire, that the Quran talks about descriptions, or when the Quran talks about descriptions about heaven, you see that it's very specific things that are for the body, for the physical body. Therefore, we know it is also, ma'ad is jasmani. Ma'ad is a bodily resurrection, because this is what the Quran, the zahir of the Quran is saying. When you look at the other details, somebody might ask is, well, how do you know heaven and hell is like this? How do I know if this is how heaven is? How do I know if this is hell is like? Have you seen, has anyone died and told you this is how heaven and this is how afterlife is like? How can you answer that? We say, well, God in the Quran talks about heaven and hell for us. God in His prophets and imams give us the detail and descriptions of the afterlife. So if you want to know how the afterlife is like, you have to go back to naql. You have to go back to Quran and Sunnah. You have to ask Allah in the Holy Quran, and you also have to ask the imams, Prophet and imams. There are narrations that talk about how the hellfire is like. And if just is, for example, 70 parts, for example, if you took fire in the world, and how hot fire can be, even volcanoes. And that is, for example, one of the 70 parts of the hellfire. We have sayings like this. It was one part of 70, the fire of earth. 170. And that actually it has then been cooled multiple times at 1 out of 70. And now that is fire of the earth. That is fire of the earth. Therefore, you see, Quran says, Narun Hamiya, a fire hotly burning, an inferno that is burning. One of our speakers, Sheikh Shushtari, Sheikh Allama Ja'far Shushtari said, Narun hamiya, the hot fire. Why do you say hot fire? Do we have a cold fire, he asks. Quran says narun hamiya. Hamiya is hot, inferno. Why does Quran, do you think, say a hot fire? And then he answers himself and he says, yes, but we have a cool fire as well. There's a cold fire. The cold fire is the fire of the dunya. The fire of the dunya that in tradition say if the people of Jahannam, the people that are punished there, would come to this world and be placed in the fire of this world, they would relax, they would sleep, they would be in comfort. Because they're used to the punishment of the hereafter. So that's why you understand that a nafha, for example, you see that a little bit of the whiff of the punishment would be amount for a person to say, Ya waylana, Ya waylana. This is for everyone. Is this Quran, these verses, for the disbelievers? Or is this for the person that is reading the Quran as well? It's for me. I'm reading the Quran. Allah placed it so I can read and I can be afraid. I can be afraid. I want to read you some of the descriptions of hell in the Quran. One of our scholars put these together. Unfortunately, I won't be here tomorrow night talk about heaven, so you get a little bit of hope and happiness. But tonight I'm leaving. I'm going with a fury and talking about hellfire. It was the last night, so you can't find me where I am. So therefore, and ask me. 1, the unbelievers and the hypocrites, in those whose hearts there is no belief, will reside in hell. Quran says. 2, the capacity of hell is that after surrounding the guilty, it will still ask for more. Hell will ask for more people, more. This is not in the Quran, but we believe that hellfire is alive and it breathes, inhales and exhales. Inhales and exhales is in the Quran. Hell is but fire and torture. The flames of fire will blaze from everywhere. The ear-splitting and harsh sounds will increase the fright and anxiety of the disbelievers. One of these is verses, Surah Hud, Surah al-Anbiya, Surah Furqan. The faces will be sad, frowning, ugly, wrinkled. No sign of love, mercy, or flexibility will even be seen on the faces of the angels of hell. The residents of hell will be tied in iron chains. Who is this for? This is for the person that is reciting Quran in Shahr Ramadan, to take heed. And fire will engulf them from head to toe. That's in Ibrahim 50, Furqan 13. They are in fact the fuel of the fire. People are the fuel of the fire. There is no voice in hell except the groans, complaints, and screams of the residents, the dreadful shouts of hell's guards. Boiling water will cause their insides to melt and will be poured on the inhabitants of hell. Surah al-Hajj 19:20. When due to their great thirst and temperature, they ask for water. Some hot, polluted, and fetid water will be given to them, and they will drink it eagerly. Their food in hell will be zaqum, a zaqum tree which grows from fire and whose fruit will increase the irritation inside them. Their clothes will be made of black and sticky material. Their companions will be the Satans and jinn. The evil people will be their companions. As soon as they start apologizing to God about their deeds, the commands of go away or be quiet or shut up will make them quiet. They will ask the guards of hell to intervene and request some decree to their punishment, some decrease in punishment. And they will answer, didn't God send you his prophets and provide you with all the means of guidance? Didn't you have prophets? Didn't you have imams, for example? Why didn't you listen? This is for us to learn. This is in our book for us so that we can learn. May God save us, inshallah, from the punishments of hell. Didn't God send you his prophets? Then they will ask for their death and learn that they will be in hell forever. Az-Zukhruf. Some will be in hell forever. Although death rushes to them from everywhere, they will never die. There is no death. They wish for death in hell, but there's no death. As their skins burn, they will be replaced with new skins, so that the punishment continues forever. Surah An-Nisa, verse 56. They will ask the people in paradise for some food and water, and will hear in reply that God has prohibited you from the blessings of the paradise. Then the residents of paradise ask, what caused your bad luck? What took you to hell? They will answer, we didn't pray and worship God and didn't help the poor. In addition, we accompanied the wrongdoers and rejected the resurrection. This is Surah al-Muddathir, verses 29 to 47. Then they will then start to struggle and fight against each other. The misled will tell the misleaders, you deceived us. Those people that deceived you, you deceived us. And they will reply, you followed us willingly. Don't blame me. You yourself followed us willingly. It's like that person that had that dream. They say that he saw, for example, shaitan. And he had a dream and was wondering about the different ways that shaitan would trap someone, for example. And he saw, like, for example, these thick chains. He says, these are the chains I want to grab, for example, Sheikh Murtaza al-Ansari, one of our scholars, great fuqaha. And they try to get Sheikh Murtaza Ansari and would break the chains. He says, I can't hold them with this. He says, well, then which one are you using for me? He said, for example. He says, you actually came by yourself. I'm not using a chain for you. You just came by yourself. Some of us are like this. We don't even need chains. We seek shaitan by himself. You deceived us, and they will reply, you followed us willingly. The inferior will say to the superior, you caused us to be in such desperate conditions. And they will answer, did we change your way towards God forcefully? So at the end, all those people that misled them, they will not take responsibility. So you did it yourself. You did it yourself. It was your decision. Finally, they will turn to Satan saying, you misled us, shaitan. And he will reply, God promised you the truth, but you didn't accept it. Well, I promised you untruth, and you accept it. Even shaitan gets out of it. He's shaitan. He deceives us. Therefore, instead of blaming me and you blame yourself, shaitan says, verse of Quran, instead of blaming me, blame yourself. He will then continue, however, at present, none of us can help each other. Surah Ibrahim, verse 22. Thus, they will have no alternative but to accept the results of their own disobedience and face the consequences of remaining in torture forever. So again, this is a reality, brothers and sisters. In Shahr Ramadan, we should be thinking of freedom from hell. And when you read, inshallah, the verses in the night of Qadr, and you're preparing yourself right now for the night of destiny, remember these verses that I mentioned. Remember the verses of Jahannam. So when you say, Al-Ghawth, Al-Ghawth, Qal-Nista min an-nar, Ya Rab, you really mean it. You really mean it. Let's go to verse 47 and end tonight's discussion. وَنَّذَعُ الْمَوَازِنَ الْقِسْطِ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا وَإِنْ كَانَ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِنْ خَرْدَلٍ أَتَيْنَا بِهَا وَكَفَى بِنَا حَاسِبِينَ. And we will place the scales of justice for the day of resurrection. Now, the resurrection, we're talking about the scales of justice, which is al-mawazin al-qist. So no soul will be treated unjustly at all. فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا. Nobody in the hereafter will be treated. There will be no, for example, in this world there are court cases that many times the judge takes the person that is actually innocent and says he's guilty. Or someone that is guilty makes him innocent. It's wrong. But in the hereafter, there's not that mistake at all. There'll be no dhulm, no injustice. In this world, it'll happen in the courts. But in the hereafter, it won't happen. And if there is even the weight of a mustard seed, we will bring it forth, and sufficient are we as an accountant. So even a khardal, even a habba, a seed, a mustard seed, everything will be presented to us on the day of judgment. A little bit. Even you made a little joke to your brother. You hurt his feelings, for example. You didn't do istighfar. You made fun of somebody. For example, I keep giving examples of cars. You hit the poor brother in the masjid. You parked your car. You broke his mirror, for example. And you kept driving off. Every little mirror you break, every little flat tire you cause, for example, with the nails you put, any type of insult you give to other, any type of haqqun nas will be all accounted for. And this is a serious religion. This is the reality. You're not allowed to abuse each other. You're not allowed to make fun of each other. You're not allowed to backbite each other. You're not allowed to make rumors about one another. You're not allowed all of these things. They talk about the Prophet. I said this hadith, I'll say it again. The Prophet talks about those that are muflis. Muflis means bankrupt. Today, if you say someone's muflis, it's bankrupt, doesn't have anything. So do you want to know the true muflis? The true muflis bankrupt is that person that goes to the hereafter. In the tradition, he brings his actions to the hereafter, his charity, he takes it, his salat, he takes it, his hajj, or whatever he takes it. It counts. So it was accepted. He takes it to the day of judgment. But now they say, oh, you have haqqun nas, you have mistreated the people. So the person says, well, what will satisfy you? Well, what do you have? I have some salat. Give me some salat. I have some sadaqah. Give me your sadaqah. What else do you have? Oh, this person now. This one, there's the car I told you, you broke his mirror, for example, and you ran away. Him, for example, give him a little bit of charity. This person, you did ghayba, you backbited. All your actions were devastated by this, for example. You harmed them, give them so much of your action. At the end, he sees, I have nothing, Allah. I don't have salat anymore. I don't have hajj anymore. I don't have fasting anymore. I'm muflis. I came to the day of judgment. I was rich in a way. I had lots of things. But now it's all gone because I had to give it to people. So therefore, you see that when it talks about the day of judgment being the day of justice, it is the day that every person that is madloom, that was oppressed, the right will be given to them. And every oppressor will be punished. And even if it is some types of verbal abuse, the types of, for example, physical abuse, all of this will be answered. So what does this cause for us? Us to be careful. We're being watched and everything's recorded. Allah is the witness and He is the judge at the same time. So therefore, a true believer believes in heaven and hell and is careful. And I said this so much, and I gave it because I see a new crowd tonight. I would see in the hawza some of the good students, and usually in the more advanced stages, you see sometimes students are more careful because they've been there studying long. They're even careful of how they treat each other's shoes. They don't want to step on it too much, or because some of them are, as a, for example, busy class, how they walk around their shoes. They don't want to mess up anyone's shoes. Or sometimes they'd like bump into someone's motorcycle or damage a little bit. They write a note and put their phone number. Shows you a student of the hawza, a student of knowledge should be like that with the rights of people, with the rights of the Muslimin. They're so careful. If they said anything, sometimes some of our great speakers and lecturers, I'm not going to say who, he went to one of the maraji and asked him for forgiveness. I spoke about you bad. Sorry, I was talking behind your back. And he says, I will forgive my right. But I will not, if the right of marja'iyat and the right that Allah has placed on the marja, that Allah has to forgive. I can forgive my personal right. But you have brought down the position of marja'iyat, the position of a jurist. That is up to Allah, for example. So asking for forgiveness in the Shahr Ramadan, being very kind to one another, is another part of this very rich practice that we have as Muslims, that not only is it personal worship, spirituality, but treating each other, giving iftar, being kind, forgiving others, visiting family, being very friendly with one another. This is what it takes to be a complete human being. So therefore, we see the other part is the questioning, and this is a reality that our actions and the traditions mention that Mizanul A'mal will be Imam Ali and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, that they would take our actions and weigh it against them. This mawazin that's mentioning, the weight and the measurement, as you have everything in this world that needs a measurement, the measurement in the hereafter, that perfect salat, perfect sawm will be to Imam Ali alayhi salam, because we have As-salamu alayka ya Mizan al-A'mal. He is Mizanul A'mal. So therefore, these two verses talk about a nafha, a little breeze, a little whiff of the hereafter is enough for us to ask for forgiveness. So why don't we, before they judge us, before they take our account, why don't we take our own account right now tonight and say, what did I do that's wrong? Did I harm someone? What am I doing? Let's change ourselves and account for ourselves before it's too late. Before they're going to take this hisab for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim, if you're Shia or not. It doesn't matter. All of this, all of our actions, even a khardal, a seed of a mustard seed, all of it will be brought forth to us in the Day of Judgment. And this is our reality. This is in the Holy Book, the Quran, that we recite and we respect so much. May Allah make us of those that, inshallah, are free of the utaqa, or the ones that are free from the hellfire, inshallah. May Allah make us of those that do not treat people unfairly. May Allah make us kind and compassionate to one another, inshallah. May Allah make this a great Shahr Ramadan for us and forgive us in this Shahr Ramadan, inshallah. If He has not forgiven us so far, forgive us in the rest of the month of Shahr Ramadan. May Allah give us a great Laylatul Qadr, inshallah. May Allah cure all those that are sick. Bless our family members, friends, founders of the Masjed, and bless their souls and forgive their sins, inshallah. And make us of those that are truly awaiting and true companions of the Imam of the age with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.